All right, everybody, welcome to this episode of Locked On Avalanche. And we got the news from Nathan MacKinnon, and it's not really what we wanted. Yeah, it could always be worse in terms of how long he'll be out, but a month is much longer than any of us really wanted. So we will talk about that begrudgingly as we want to, because it's just another twist of the knife in all these injuries that the Avalanche are experiencing right now. It's pretty crazy. Another episode of Locked On Avalanche coming at you right now.
You're Locked On Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I couldn't get the intro music and graphics to change to Locked On Eagles, unfortunately. So what I had to do was just wear my Eagles jersey for the duration of the episode, and you got the Trashers. I'm not going to go that far, sir, but it's just kind of what it feels like right now. Thank you for joining the Locked On Avalanche podcast. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And thank you for making this your first listen of the day. You can follow us on our social media outlets, LOPN_Avalanche on Twitter, Locked On Avalanche on Instagram. Questions, comments, concerns, and opinions to lockedonavalanche@gmail.com, and follow us on our YouTube channel. Over on YouTube, hit subscribe and get notified when a new show goes live. So there's really no other way to start this than with the biggest news coming out of Colorado. And clearly that is Jason Megna getting claimed by the Anaheim Ducks. Horrible
I'll never
news
forget this day.
Yeah, this one's going to go down in infamy. But I mean, that is a little that's just an added, like,
yeah.
What else could go wrong for the not that he's like this, key player for them, but it's just, let's lose another player to a different way other than injury. So we'll get to that a little bit later, but yeah, it's all Nathan MacKinnon to start this episode. I was listening to Jared Bednar. He was on Mark Mosier's radio show. And at that time, and this is like 7 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning, he didn't have the timetable on when or how long MacKinnon might be out, but he phrased it as he didn't like that he wasn't able to come back.
Yeah.
He was out for, first period, and the fact that he wasn't able to come back, he didn't like that because he felt like that means he's probably going to be out for some time, is how he said it. And then fast forward to later on through the day, and we find out that it is for 4 weeks. So he is another person that we knew was going to be on the injured list. And all of these guys, as many injuries as the Avalanche have right now, and there is a ton of them, none of them are for the duration of the season. So you can kind of look at it that way, as like, man, it's just one after the other right now. How is it going to stop? When is it going to end? But you're hoping a month from now, you're as healthy as you will be all season long. But it is going to be a brutal month. And we will get back into the schedule. We're going to retake a look at the schedule for December because everything changes now. MacKinnon being out for a month, all these guys being out changes the dynamic. Clearly, when Nathan MacKinnon goes out for a solid month, that changes the narrative of everything.
As it currently sits, your Avalanche are fourth in the Central, behind Dallas, Winnipeg, Minnesota. There are no more easy games without Nathan MacKinnon. You don't have that luxury of Nathan MacKinnon doing Nathan MacKinnon things. He is now technically the caboose on the injury train. Landeskog will be coming back before him, theoretically, possibly.
It could be right around the same time. I remember what was just going off the 12 weeks, and what we're counting down. I think that takes you kind of like into the teens of January. So we're at December 6th as we're recording this. So they're going to be close to two of them for when they return, MacKinnon and Landeskog, and that's going to be great.
You have Helm in a no contact sweater right now. Nuke in a full contact.
Mm-hmm.
We're starting to get the band back together. The valuable pieces are farther away.
Well, so I mean, the way that you phrase like we're starting to get the band back together, we don't even know that yet. Like it could be, but we don't know. That's another thing that Jared Bednar said in the same interview. And they asked him, a week from now, because he does a weekly spot, and they said a week from now, are we talking about anybody that's returned? And he didn't want to commit to that. He didn't want to say definitively yes, but he did say the two guys that you named, Nichushkin and Helm, will probably be the first two guys to come back. And it could be, he didn't say this, but it sounded like it could be within this week. So, yeah, is the band getting back together? Maybe, and sooner rather than later, but we're still not there yet. So at least for another week, what we have right now was what we're going with. And that's going to be tough.
This wouldn't be so terrible if the entire team started the season kind of like how we were last year. Still on fire. Like the depth production. If we weren't so worried about the production of Newhook, JT Compher, like we don't have Lehkonen, like you're still.
Yeah. Well, but you mentioned Lehkonen.
Mm-hmm.
He's day to day. He could play.
He could
play against Boston. We don't know.
The reason I bring it up, like he wasn't even producing at Lehkonen rate. Like he kind of tapered off. This wouldn't be so bad because we spent the offseason talking about like who's replacing Naz's production, like who's that next guy up. Nobody stepped up. Nobody has. And guess what? You have no choice. If you want to win games and you want to stay relevant, because you really can't start, you can't start the slide here. And you already are. It has to stop now. And the game tonight, it's a tall task. It's a tall mountain to climb, but there's no more excuses at this point. You have to look inside and look at the team you have. This is it. Get over it. Somebody has to step up, or there's no more reason to cry. Like, this is your Colorado Avalanche. Like it or leave it. You still have Cale Makar out there. You still have Mikko Rantanen. And potentially on paper, if they never played a game this season, and you just told me, oh, we have Newhook, we have JT Compher, Dryden Hunt. Like, you start listing these guys, Cogliano. You're like, okay, we'll be okay. We can, but nobody stepped up yet. Starting today, no more excuses. Everybody's got to go at 100%.
Yeah, but it's not the Avalanche though. Like this is right now. It is today. It is, but this is not what the end of the year roster is going to look like.
No,
and that's just where this is just craziness. Is just all of this stuff is right. It's immediate.
Yeah,
and you have all of those guys that you saw the list if you were watching the game. Altitude threw it up, the graphic of everybody that's injured right now, and like we're saying in the beginning, like all of those guys should be back in a month. I don't think there's anybody beyond Gabe Landeskog who is going to be out longer than he is from when he comes back. I'm saying, like, if he comes back middle of January, I don't see anybody that's going to be out beyond that. So you could potentially have your full roster healthy, barring anybody else gets injured, in a month. So, but your point is taken. Like right now, this is what you have, and nobody feels sorry for you. So I think it's from a player's mentality, it's like this is it. This is who we have to go with for at least the next week. Maybe you get Nichushkin and Helm or one of them back in a week, but that's still not. I mean, that'll change if you get Nichushkin back. That'll change the dynamic, a little bit. That'll obviously help. Every time you get a piece back, that just helps. But right now, for these games, maybe you get Lehkonen back because they said he was day to day. Maybe he comes back tonight against Boston. Maybe that happens. But even so, like you're still down so much. So you're right in the fact that it's like, okay, no excuses. We know it's not like you're going into the game and maybe Nathan MacKinnon will be there. He's not. Maybe Gabe Landeskog will be there. He's not. So yeah, you just gotta you go into the game and say, this is what we have. Let's just put her all out there. And they have been doing that.
Yes.
They have been playing as hard as they possibly can. They're not just rolling over and dying. They're out there, they're skating, they're competing, they're doing the best that they possibly can. I can't fault them for the energy and the effort that they're putting forth.
And I'm saying all that because we have to get past the mindset of everyone that's injured is your Colorado Avalanche and everybody wearing the sweater is not. Like, the team that hits the ice is your Colorado Avalanche. Every piece that comes back is adding to your 2022-23 Colorado Avalanche, because these are the guys that are winning the games. These are the guys fighting in the division. We have to ask a little more out of them, expect a little more out of them, and support these guys. Like, this Boston game is where we get past the narrative of, well, if we only had MacKinnon here, we probably would have done this, or if we had Landeskog, we had this. Guess what? No matter how much wishing we're going to do, they're not coming back tomorrow. So we have to start appreciating the team that's on the ice, because it's just as hard on them. I mean, we're fans. We're just sitting back, not thrilled with how things are going. Imagine putting on the sweater, thinking you're going to be playing with Landeskog, MacKinnon, list the injury report, and they're not there. You have to step it up. We got to support these guys just a little bit more. We know how things are, but we got to appreciate and ask a little bit more out of this team.
Yeah. I mean, this is the hand that we've been dealt.
Yep.
So, what kind of fan are you? Are you just a fan that's around because when they're playing well and competing for a cup, that's still very much in play. It's just tough right now. So, or are you a fan that, okay, this is who we have. Let's get behind you guys. And let's, we're still going to root for you just like we would if we had a 100% healthy team. Because it doesn't change for me in that aspect.
Because like me and Chris, we talk all the time. And I messaged you this morning. Did we throw up our hands every time Peter Forsberg was injured and say that's the end of our season?
Right.
Like it,
and he was injured a lot.
Yeah, we talked about that in our Mount Rushmore of Avalanche players in history. We forget about how often he was injured. Nathan MacKinnon's injured often as well.
He is, but it doesn't seem to last this long. You know what I mean?
That's what we said about the broken nose and the broken fingers. It was also week to week, and we're like, oh, what are we going to do for a month? And it ended up being 2 weeks.
Yeah, he's got adamantium in his
true.
blood.
He comes back quick, but he's also injured. Like,
the way he plays doesn't surprise me. You know, he's physical. He doesn't avoid contact. He's a physical guy. He's skating around 1,000,000 miles an hour. Like, it's gonna happen.
Overcome it before.
Yeah. Oh my God, yes.
We have overcome it before. We've overcome the pandemic season, the craziness of last season. We could do it again.
Like, they've done it many times, holding their head above water.
Yeah.
Many times. So, all right, let's hear from, what do we got today? Bet Online, and then a question I want to throw at you, and then we'll talk about, two questions I want to throw at you. One about, who wears the A for Nathan MacKinnon, and then did the Avs pull the trigger on any trades? So we'll talk about that, and we'll get to their schedule as well. Reevaluate some of these games that they have. But first, we have, there you go, Bet Online and betonline.net. It is your number one source for sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there, from football to basketball, esports, hockey, and of course, soccer. We've got it all at betonline.net. I've had people messaging me saying you got to give soccer a chance. And I even had one person say, you probably shouldn't start with USA Soccer. None of that is like,
that's a very valid point. Very valid point.
They weren't trying to like minimize American soccer, but
I know what they're saying.
I point was taken. Point was well taken.
Premier League, baby.
Yeah. So, and if you love sports podcasts, and if you're listening to this, why don't you? You can find those as well at Bet Online. We are always the fastest and easiest way to get your betting fix. So head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. That is betonline.net, and it's where the game starts. All right. So yeah, Nathan MacKinnon, obviously one of the alternate captains, and you knew nobody was going to grab the captaincy, even while Gabe Landeskog is out for his 12 weeks. Maybe if he was out for the duration of the season, they might have just for the year given it to somebody to hold it. But nobody's taking that from him. As far as the alternates go, who could don it instead? Now you have Miko and Makar, who are your A's. Who takes it? Who's your third alternate right now? Does it go back to EJ?
That's what I was about to say.
Yeah.
I feel like it's almost a no-brainer. It's kind of twofold. Production has not been there from anybody. Like everybody's falling off, and EJ's still sticking around. Who would have known?
Yeah.
It's weird, but he's been there. He's a veteran. He's a leader. Give it to EJ.
I think that would be like the leading candidate, but they've given it to Sam Girard in the past too, as a holdover when they've had injuries. That's nothing new. He has been an alternate in the past. I mean, Taves could have it.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's
Or Cogliano.
I'd give it to
Cogliano could
Taves
have it.
over Cogs.
What's that?
I'd give it to Taves over Cogs.
Would you?
Yes. Seniority. He's very underrated and always has been, Taves. Yeah. And I feel like it's the team's way of saying, hey, bud, we got you.
Yeah.
The same way we've always given it to EJ.
Yeah.
He's always played very underrated. And it's just kind of our little nod. I think Taves deserves it now.
But JT Confer. He's been around long enough.
No, it's not a.
That's a seniority thing.
No, it's not an honorable mention trophy.
But it's not a production award either. It's it's how you handle yourself.
If JT Confer's not in the lineup, you don't know. If Devon Taves is not,
Right, but that's not what the alternate is about.
But you put Taves on whatever line, he's leading. Nobody's listening to JT Confer.
I don't know about that, man. JT Confer is a liked teammate on the ice and in the locker room. Very much so. We can sit here and complain about his production on the ice now. He's inconsistent and all that stuff. It's different when you're picking captains and alternate captains. Like you're more looking for leadership qualities. He's got that. He has that. You have to grant him that.
I
don't
feel like,
mix the two. Mix.
I feel like Taves is more of a leader because he's always, when it's going to the locker room, it's Bednar than Taves. Like he's right there. Taves is always in the middle of everything. He's always. I feel like he is more of a leader on and off the ice.
Oh, he could be. I'm not saying he's not. I mean, I'm just focusing on Confer, and I don't want you to, get in your own head about because the lack of production. That means he's not suitable to be an alternate. I think he definitely.
We've given him chances to lead.
Yeah, it's a different type of leadership, though. It's a different. It's like I said, it's not a production one.
He doesn't ascend the production of those around him, no matter what line he's on. He's not the difference maker. You put Taves with Manson's incredible. You put Taves with Girard's incredible. But again, you put Taves with anybody, he raises their play.
Right.
You don't
and what you're looking for in a captain is different than what you're looking for in an alternate. So I don't know. I think EJ would be kind of up there at the top. And I would almost put Cogliano right in the second spot there above Taves. I almost would. Wouldn't surprise me if he's got it. We'll see.
Give it to Serpo Ranta.
Yeah. Hey, right there, baby.
Yeah, there you go. Just stick it on him. No problem there.
And then as far as trades go, like we said, that all of these guys are coming back within a month. But do you want to make sure you don't get so far behind in the standings and then you're playing catch up when these guys do come back? So do you make some sort of move here? Because the Avs are going to be buyers at the trade deadline anyway. Do you do something a few months earlier than expected to kind of just keep, jumpstart a little bit of something, get some more, veteran presence in there because you have all of these youngsters in there? Do you pull the trigger on something a little bit earlier than you normally would just to keep things where they are, maybe improve a little bit, bringing in a veteran or two?
It's weird. It's a difficult spot the Avs find themselves in, but you also have to ask yourself if you're going out and acquiring veteran talent. I know Vancouver's having a fire sale right now.
Yeah, that's what they're linked to.
Yeah, it's how long before he makes a difference in this Avalanche system, and this is an Avalanche system without, like we were just talking about, who's getting the A. There's no clear defined leader other than Mikko Rantanen.
Right. And Cale Makar. I mean, come on.
Cale Makar, but you don't have that Landy or Nate that you have to play your way and around their way. So how long, one, will it take the veteran to acclimate themselves to Avalanche hockey? And two, will Nathan MacKinnon, Landeskog, when everybody starts coming back, is it going to be somebody that can work with not just Avalanche system, but the three-headed monster Avalanche system?
Yeah, I don't see it happening, to be honest with you. Like, I don't anticipate it. I mean, maybe they make some minor move, but those big deals, the Jonathan Taves and I know they're throwing around like Brock Besser and Bo Horvat. Like, those are deadline deals. I don't see the Avalanche trying to make a big move in that just for the time being. I don't see it happening, but I've been surprised before.
It's not like EA Sports NHL where you trade or acquire a player and their stats instantly like plug into your system and you reap the benefits immediately. It took Nas a while to start scoring when he went to Calgary, and that was a free agent signing. Yep. You get that out of free agent signings, trades. It takes a while for them to be acclimated. By the time the veteran gets in and is acclimated after a week or two, here comes everybody coming back completely healthy, and they're like, "Who's this guy?"
Yeah. So we'll see. Okay, let's get to the schedule. We're going to revisit this December schedule. Let's throw it up here. There it is. If you're watching on YouTube, we just put it up on the screen for you. And things just take a different tone right now with everybody that's out. So, do any of these games here change your mind on the Avalanche going up against any of them? You have Boston. That's tonight. So Boston just lost their first game at home. I believe that was to Vegas. So they're going to be, they're just angry that they lost a game, I'm sure, especially at home. And they're a very good team. So this is going to be another uphill battle. But, I always, I don't know, playing at home always makes me feel a little bit better. So looking at these games, maybe your quote unquote easy ones, but nothing is easy right now. Philly again, Buffalo again, Arizona, Montreal, but Montreal is playing better. So I think those are 4 games that if you're compartmentalizing these and saying like high danger games, mid-level, low, maybe 4 I would put in the low category, with Montreal hovering maybe that mid-range. And then everything else, even though you have the Blues on here.
Yeah, I was about to say they just hung a touchdown on the Islanders.
They're so I can't figure them out right now. So
none of these games are, you can get in there and rest on your laurels and just be like, well, here we go. This is Buffalo. We can, nope.
No, that's where you're at right now.
Yep.
Is the players that you have. No, you can't just walk into a game and with your chest puffed out and be like, we got this one. No, it's just not going to happen. So you're going to have to fight for all of these. And you got some tough matchups here. Obviously Boston, you end the month with Toronto. The game before that, the Kings are playing great.
Yeah.
2 against Nashville, middle of the road. The Islanders, who are playing great. even though you just said the Blues hung a touchdown on them.
Yeah.
They're still a very good team. So this is going to be a grind of a month.
The Blues are doing things that Russell Wilson can't, but it's one of those, like, you're going to have to focus on X's and O's because you don't know the quality of play you're getting out of the Jimmies and Joes on the roster.
Hmm.
You have to go in there and the lines have to stay the same. That's number one. Barring injuries, we're not going to play around.
Yeah.
Like, it's got to be best overall. Like, you got to have a heavy top line and then work your way down and keep it that way until players start coming back, because we can't get cute with our roster,
Right.
because this team has to start playing together and building off each other.
Yeah. So that's just a quick look at the schedule again, to kind of just give you a different feel for it, different look for it, knowing because last time we looked at this, we were not down MacKinnon, we were not down Lehkonen, we were not down Manson. So now that we are, takes a different look. As far as this Boston game goes, the thing that is, I'm kind of, I don't have concern about it, but one thing that the Avalanche could have done was they didn't like how Terry Lehkonen got thrown to the ice.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't that Charlie McAvoy who did that? Right?
Yes.
Pretty sure it was him.
Yes.
And they were throwing an idea of like, hey, maybe there's going to be some like retaliation in terms of like, hey, you're going to just maybe put England on him and just, have him fight it out, just protecting your players. You can't chance that now. you can't get another injury. So you can't even redeem Artturi Lehkonen for what happened to him. Because remember when we were talking about this last year when Nathan MacKinnon got into a fight, and it was either, I can't remember if it was in the playoffs or like right before the playoffs started, and people were like, we don't want him fighting.
Yeah.
And I was of the mind, I was like, what? Go tell Nathan MacKinnon that. Like if he's gonna stand up for his teammate, he's gonna stand up for him. And he ended up hurting his hand, and he was out for a little while. You can't even do that now because you might risk that. Even if it's a fourth liner or third pairing defenseman, you can't risk that anymore. So that's what injuries have done as well.
And it's to go one more on that. You can't get beat defensively and take that hooking or that holding on a bad beat, because your penalty kill is not the same. Your power play is not the same. You can't take those quote unquote good penalties. You've lost that card. You have to play flawless positioning the whole way. You can't go get even because of all the injuries. And the last time you saw Boston, they took out Lecky. Can't go get even for that because you can't afford putting somebody else on the ice and overextending who you have left for 5 minutes for fighting, or if it's a roughing or unsportsmanlike. You can't do any of that.
Right.
You're losing a lot of extra options you have because you honestly have to play the most generic form of hockey and just try and survive and make it through.
You've lost Jason Megna now. And again, we said at the beginning of the show, it's not like he's just this guy that is going to just walk in and be that guy that is the savior, or is going to be like, I just steps up his game immensely because of all these injuries. But, he's a guy that, you were talking about knowing the system. He knows the system. He's been here for years. He was a call up all the time.
Mm-hmm.
They did not anticipate anybody picking him up. And it was, what they've been doing all year long with cap, freeing up some cap space and things like that. And you always run that risk that someone is going to grab a guy. And for whatever reason, Anaheim, who I believe is number one in the waiver wire lineup, snagged him.
Apparently they didn't watch his last game.
What he's going to do to improve that team, I have no idea. I'm just sitting there. I'm thinking like, Anaheim just sitting there just like, oh, how can, they're the defending Stanley Cup. How can we make their lives more miserable? Let's just claim a guy that they just put up on waiver. I don't understand it. I don't understand, why Anaheim would pick him up. I understand why the Avalanche put him up for waivers, but that's a risk that every team who puts a player up on waivers runs. And not many guys get claimed.
No.
It happens. It sure happens. But I was a little bit surprised to see that happening.
And the waiver wire is kind of juicy now. The Avs, instead of playing trade.
Yeah. There you go. Do you look at that?
I would definitely look at the waiver wire because the Avs aren't the only team playing with the cap right now. There's some interesting names on the waiver wire right now. So I would dip my toe into that. But honestly, I would keep pulling Eagles because you got to know the system and you got to work together. And you keep pulling them up enough, you're going to have half Avalanche, half Eagles roster. And those lines can work together.
Yeah. It's going to be a fun and interesting month. Maybe fun's the wrong word, but you know what I mean by that. So, and what better way or worse way to start this whole thing off against the Boston Bruins. So, I don't know. Well, if nothing else, like you're saying, you can bring up a lot of Eagles. It's going to be an experience driven month for these guys. So, we shall see. Whatever happens, Kyle and I will be back tomorrow to discuss it all. So make sure you tune in tomorrow. But thank you for tuning in today and making this your first listen of the day. Always appreciated. Comment away in the comment section over on YouTube. So we like interacting with you guys, and I'm sure there's a lot of feelings and emotions going on about what's going on right now with the Avs. Use the comment section as your frustration posts.
Yeah, we understand you.
Yeah, we feel it. All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. And we will see everybody tomorrow to discuss the Avalanche and the Bruins. He's Mr. Shaggy Von Doom. I am Chris Maselli, and this is the Locked On Avalanche podcast. We'll see you guys tomorrow.